Dr. Srimal Fernando, advisor with the new regional diplomacy, is joining us from Colombo. Dr. Fernando, such a pleasure to have you. Hope you are safe there in Colombo. What do you make of the charge that Ranil Wickremesinghe has made in his media briefing, saying that those behind the unrest are fascist elements, because many people believe that this is a people's movement and this is more neutral than not. What do you think?
Thank you very much for inviting me. There are two views. Now, there is a acting president giving his opinions and all. Also, the people's power, or it's called the struggle, or the Aragalaya, which is a people's movement. The government has to be sensitive to what the protesters are saying. Already, the president has called in for a defense council to protect the civilian citizens' security. However, what is happening in Sri Lanka is that the protesters have even taken over the Prime Minister's office. If law and order was in place, how come with such a large number of contingents of army, military and all, how come the people are taking over, even though there is a state of emergency, curfew, and civilian unrest is spiraling slowly. So the best way forward is to reconvene a meeting through the parliament from the all party committee meeting. He has to listen to what the all party leaders are saying. And of course, there's going to be a secret ballot on 20th. However, as the protesters have even taken over the state media, run television, even though they haven't taken over, there's a lot of protests around that place. And this is a very sensitive issue. It has to be resolved. Even the religious leaders have told the people to be calm and resilient. But I would suggest that the government should listen to the protesters as well as listen to the all-party leaders and come to a settlement in this matter. Yeah.
Right, Dr. Fernando, we are aware that at 5 p.m. Local time there in Sri Lanka, a meeting was called by the Speaker of the Sri Lankan Parliament of all parties.
Movement or the struggle or the Aragale is that these 225 MPs have been swapping from this side to that side and making this political instability, as well as that led to the economic crisis. So it is important that a new parliament take place with more representations coming out, the new generation youth who are there, and this is their years ahead. And people are really, even it's not only the politicians, even they are kind of angry with the bureaucracy, because bureaucracy with tighter policies, floating of the money and printing on all this of rupees created this crisis. So it is important, even the politicians from the opposition parties and even the stakeholders from the government party act with more responsibility and see their future also, because this is a very different turn. It is not previously like an election or a democratic path. It has taken a different turn. If an election is held in the next coming months, they will see the results. Who will get appointed? Who will get thrown out? So that is why the people are not kind of trusting the parliament, these strugglers. So it is important that they once again, the politicians who are in the parliament, gain the confidence of the people. Because this is people power, it's not only a small group, it cannot be said, because there might be political politicians or political parties behind that, but slowly you can't just simply only few political parties can initiate it. This is there are more than 2,000 trade unions, civil society movements in this struggle. So these are all small groups and wider groups who are backing this up. So it is important that the 225 politicians think a lot and they be sensitive to people's aspirations and come about a settlement without swapping ideas from this side to that side. It's not only the responsibility of Rajapaksa or the current Prime Minister, it is also the responsibility of all the 225 parliamentary members and the bureaucracy that supported them. Because it won't be easy hereafter if those initiatives, activities, and points they have raised are not heard.
It definitely will not be easy, and the last 3 months have shown us that. What is life like for an average Sri Lankan? How long does it take to get fuel, cooking gas, essential commodities?
So from when I go outside, when I ask from three-wheeler drivers, that is Bajaj tri-shows, there are about 4 million to 4 million Bajaj tri-shows. About 10 million to 8 million people depend from that. They stay for about for 2 to 3 days in a petrol queue to pump get at least 5 to 10 liters of petrol. And also there are 5 million cars, vehicles. So those people are from the middle class who do white collar jobs. So they too have to stay for either 10 hours to get few liters of petrol. So, and this also has affected the small and medium businesses. That is about 4.5 million. It's like bread, producing small breads, for example, and different small shops and all that earn daily wages. So you can see the inflation has gone up to 70% from 50%. How can an ordinary person bear this up? Already the World Food Program has said nearly 5.2 million people are vulnerable. So there's World Food Program support programs are to be initiated. So you can see the daily life of people are getting from getting worse compared to what it was few months back. A country that was earning $4,000 per capita income, one of the best HDI nations in South Asia, has now come into this situation. So who is responsible? Bureaucracy as well as politicians are responsible because they are the stakeholders of the people. So the politicians who are going to take over the country in the next election have to act responsibly, not play games. So this is what I feel.
So you're saying essentially that this is a collective failure of the political leadership and the bureaucracy. And it's really sad that people are skipping meals in Sri Lanka. They've reduced their food intake, and the crisis is hurtling from bad to worse. The economy has collapsed. These are the words of Ranil Wickremesinghe, no less. What were the main reasons that led to this, to your mind? What were some of those decisions that were wrong in nature that kept hurting the economy?
Well, till 2019, the economy was galloping at a very slow pace, even though that was there. But the COVID hit the economy, so it lost about a $4 billion turnover from the tourism industry, and worker remittance, which is around $7 billion, also slowly started to narrow down, and taxes and all the revenue started to deplete, and the government was using its reserve to print to keep up the dollar against the rupee pressure, and all these loose monetary and fiscal policies created a shutdown of economy gradually. So 2 years of COVID, not seeing not taking far-sighted measures, saw this sudden crippling, and also the country was not having oil stocks. They were earlier there was a oil storage in Colombo called Sapagaskanda. There was this crude oil. When it was cheap, the government could have purchased cheap oils, and they waited till the last minute. Around December to purchase oils and all these things when the dollar was high and the reserves were down. Then it was difficult because the last 6 months, then the bureaucracy and the system started to fail, and coordination was lacking, and this is what collapsed the system gradually. Now it has to be restored. So first restoration comes from the parliament, from the politics. So if a stable government can come with people's mandate, with people's liking, that will settle a lot of things for the administration to do the needful. So those are ways how any government can settle in a good. And also corruption was a major part of this failure. A lot of commissions have been taken when certain shipments were there, and all imports were also curtailed to Sri Lanka in the last 2 years to narrow down the gap of the balance of payment. So these are things that saw all this unfolding situation and crisis. Yeah.
Well, the immediate priority of any new government, it may well be an interim all party government until the next presidential elections, would be to focus on what is required in the short term and the immediate term to end the economic crisis. Do you think that the next regime would also want to be more balanced? What is the sentiment in Sri Lanka vis-a-vis China, for instance? We are aware that the Rajapaksas are very close over the last 2 decades with the Chinese dispensation, and there was a lot of criticism that China has come in for over its debt trap diplomacy, the Hambantota port acquisition.
Petrol station due to their quality of oils they produce. And so the government has to raise up their standards and qualities to for people to have confidence in the government establishments. It has deteriorated over the last couple of months. So how the new government is going to do these things? The first thing is they have to bring oil. The second thing is medicine and food. I think India, in the end, India will have to play a greater role than this for the stabilization of its southern neighbor, because it's also important for its foreign policy and greater security apparatus when it comes to Indian Ocean Rim islands. So it is important that India plays the role and brings about stability and even a mediation process to bring about a political settlement for all the people, so that people of Sri Lanka will have more confidence of India's intervention, like in the previous events where India played a great, yeah.
For now, the MEA is saying that they stand with the Sri Lankans in the realization of their aspirations, and they believe in the democratic institutions of Sri Lanka as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Fernando, for speaking to us and for sharing
Thank
your
you very
perspective.
much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Let's now take a look at the timeline of the